All right, it's time to start our meeting for tonight, and we would like to welcome you to this month's annual, or this month's not annual, but monthly school board meeting tonight. We've got a lot on our plate tonight, and we're glad you joined us, and especially those of you that joined us through social media or whatever. So at this time, if you would, join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Please note that all school board members and our student school board members and the superintendent are here, and I'll call the meeting to order. If you would stand with me as we say the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. This time, I'll ask if I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
I move we adopt the agenda.
Ms. Davis moved to adopt the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Dr. Lamb seconded. All in favor, let me know by lifted hand. All board members were in favor. The agenda is adopted. Under communications, one of our favorite parts of our school board meetings is recognitions. And the first one, would you please let us know who this is?
Will all the board members come on over for this one, please?
All board members? You too. Yes.
So normally we start with staff member recognition. We're not starting with that today. Today we're going to be recognizing Garrard County Fiscal Court and Lancaster City Council, Judge Executive, the mayor, the city's road crew, the county's road crew. So if all of those folks will come up, grab those. Garrard County Schools are fortunate to have two incredible partners, the Garrard County Fiscal Court and the Lancaster City Council, led by Judge Executive Chris Elman and Mayor Michael Gaffney. Both entities have allocated time, effort, and resources to keep the roads in our county and the city clear and safe for travel during the winter. Without the help of these partners and the specific help of their road crews, Garrard County Schools would have had to miss more in-person school days than the weather has already forced. Numerous staff members who travel from outside the county have commented how much better the roads are in Garrard County and Lancaster when they travel to our work. We're extremely grateful for all of the county and the city and what they do to make school a possibility for us when nature comes calling. So thank you all for all the work that you've done to keep us in school. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. So most of you remember last month we recognized our transportation department and we talked about them connected to the snow. Now we've done city and county. We'd also like to recognize our maintenance crew with the work that they do. And as big a crew as they are, we have none of them here tonight. I'm sure they're home preparing for tonight's snow. Because what we were going to say about them was all of these other things that transpire, we can't do what we do if our parking lots, our driveways, our sidewalks aren't in good shape. And these guys get up every morning and make that happen for us. And we just wanted to say thank you. So we'll make sure that they get the recognition. Because like I said, they're probably going to get ready for tomorrow. So that might happen. So thank you all. The Amber Office Equipment takes care of us and is part of this, and we appreciate their connection to it.
Thank you, DOE.
Our next recognition is the Garrard County Schools Whitaker Bank Teacher of the Month. And our Teacher of the Month this month is Mr. Chris Vance. And we're going to have a different presentation. Lucian Farrell, who is one of our student members, who is also the drum major this year, is going to make the presentation. We figured that would be about the best way that could possibly work out. Until January of this year, Chris Vance has been the band director for Garrard County High School for as long as most of us can remember. Along with Noel Green, Mr. Vance has created an example of how to develop a successful feeder program for band. Garrard County High School's band has been a fixture at the state level for most of Mr. Vance's career. Mr. Vance has the ability to be direct with a student, but have the student respect the directness. He's developed the trust of his students as well as his colleagues. Many know Mr. Vance as the Godfather, and many shirts have borne his image. After his most recent trip to nationals, there was even a 3D printer bust made of him that may still be in the trophy case at GCHS. We're all grateful for the work Mr. Vance has done with the band program, but we are equally as grateful for the relationships that he's developed over the years. Thanks for being a shining example of just what can be done when the right effort is made. Congratulations, Mr. Vance. Our next set of recognitions is the Garrard County Schools and Farmers National Bank Students of the Month. We appreciate farmers' involvement with that. Our first recognition tonight is from CDR, William Oates. William's a preschooler at CDR, and he may be the first preschooler that we've recognized in this way. William displays kindness to all of his friends, is very observant and mindful of others' feelings. William is always attentive and follows directions the first time. He's a helping hand for both teachers and peers, and he sets a great example for those around him. Congratulations, William.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Our next recognition is from LES, and it's Liliana Orwick. Liliana is a fifth grader, and she deserves to be recognized for her effort and the sweet spirit that she brings into the classroom every day. She continuously puts 100% of her effort into classroom assignments and discussions each day. Liliana is not the type of student who gives up easily. She consistently works toward her goals, even when they're challenging. Not only does she display exceptional effort and participation in the classroom, but she's also a wonderful friend. It's not uncommon to see Liliana showing kindness to her classmates, smiling all day long, and lending a hand when one is needed. She's a phenomenal example for our younger leopards as she models our school expectations everywhere she goes. Congratulations, Liliana. Our next recognition is from Paint Lit, and it's J.D. Hay. JD's a kindergarten student at Paint Lit, and he comes to school every day ready to learn. He's a hard worker, always gives 100% on his work in class. He does a great job following our school and classroom expectations. He's a good friend to his classmates, and is always respectful and kind. He's a pleasure to have in our class, and it's great to have him as part of the PLE family. Congratulations, JD. next recognition is from GMS, and it's Eli Weaver. Eli is a sixth grade student, and the middle school recognized him based on pride, his perseverance. He does all of his assignments well, turns everything in on time. Respect. He shows great respect and care to his teachers and peers. His involvement. He participates actively in his classes and is always willing to help out when needed. His dedication. He's always on time with all materials and insightful questions ready. And excellence. He's a role model for others and represents GMS in an extremely positive manner. Congratulations, Eli. And from Garrard County High School, Abigail Streetless. Abby's a senior at GCHS, and she's a true golden lion. She's a huge part of our business program and partners with others to create the school news program. She's very gifted in movie editing and production. She's very organized and works well with teams. She will earn 21 dual credit hours through the business program, and she will be college and career ready for GCHS. Thanks, Abigail, for bringing excellence to GCHS. Congratulations. Normally we end here, but there's one more recognition today. So, Dr. Brown, if you'll come over for this one. We're going to take a moment to recognize Mary Adrian Davis. Yay! Congratulations to Ms. Davis. During 2024, your professional development efforts resulted in a successful completion of level 1 within the KSBA Academy of Studies. Enclosed is your certificate to recognize your achievement.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The in-service training initiative is designed to prepare school board members to succeed in a new era of high expectations through a realistic and practical curriculum designed with the assistance of experts in the field. By completing level 1, you've taken the first step in a very important journey that will benefit the students in our district for years to come. Congratulations.
All right, thank you, sir. Congratulations, Ms. Davis. Item B is site-based decision-making minutes, and I hope my colleagues have had opportunity to go over those as individuals. Item C is audience comments. I don't believe we have any.
No, sir, we do not.
Item D is board member comments. Any board member have anything you'd like to say or share? Okay, if not, we come to item E, superintendent, and item number 1 is goals update.
So I don't know if anybody's noticed in the agenda or not, but when you get to the action agenda, you'll notice that there's no pay applications this month. We have one more, I think, to do, and we've been doing this for several months now. So it's nice to be at that spot. But I wanted to take a moment tonight to just basically say thank you to our community. The project is very, very, very close to final release to us. And what we have out there is, I think, second to none in the area, if not in the state. And that doesn't happen without the commitment that we've had from our community. The community has been paying for this for a long, long time. And to see it come to the point where it's actually being used on a daily basis, on a nightly basis, is a really neat thing. And I don't know that we'll ever be able to effectively say thank you well enough to our community. But I wanted to do that in front of you because I know you feel the same way. I know you all recognize that this was all done through our community and what they've been able to, the way they've been able to support us, whether it's through the dollars or through their appearance. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that. The project is really, really close to finalization. We're tying up a few loose ends, and hopefully next month we'll be able to say that the project is complete. I also wanted to leave open an opportunity, if you got any questions about the project, to tie this up so that everybody was comfortable with where we are on that. So I'll be quiet and let you ask any questions you might have.
Would you share why the gym wasn't included in this current project?
So when you all started, you had the gym included in the project. The gym was part of this, and initially you had enough funding to make that happen. But if you'll recall, during the pandemic, there were a couple of things that happened. One was the rise in cost for construction. The other was rise in cost through the bonding process. You could have probably handled one of those, but we could not handle both. And so you all made the wise decision, as challenging as it was for you, to eliminate the gym from the project. So when we started this project in actual construction, there was no anticipation of having the gym be included in that. So that's why the financial situation did not allow for that to be done. And you did not want to jeopardize the community's support anyway.
Thank you.
Anything else?
We knew there would be some funding remaining that would hopefully lead toward the initiation of the work on the gym. And then during the course of the year, we began hearing possibly of some support and help from the legislature that would also help toward this project. Could you update us on where we are at that point?
Sure. About this time last year, we became aware of what was titled gap funding. And the state looked at a number of districts that were in our same situation, who had started projects, but had the projects interrupted in some capacity because of the change in the financial capabilities of the districts to make that happen. And we were informed about this time last year that in that gap funding, Garrard County was going to be one of about 26 schools or 26 districts that were looked at as potentially having that funding. And initially, the comment was made to us that we could potentially have up to half of that project covered. We had the capability, bonding wise, to get to about $13 million. And you'll actually see that number here in a few minutes. And that meant we were hopeful that the state would come back and say to us that they would give us another 13 million and we could start the project and move on from there. So that's how that was structured. Unfortunately, we've become aware that we're not going to receive $13 million. Part of the process required us to go through an audit, and we did. We provided all the information that was necessary for the auditors to review our information. And as I told you, we were hopeful of $13 million. When the audit was completed, and I'm happy to produce the document if anybody ever wants to see it, the audit actually said we needed 15. That we, in order to do the project, we needed to have $15 million. And when that information came out, that was exciting. We thought if we were going to get $15 million, we would be able to move forward with this project, and it would be even cheaper for the community than we would anticipate. Unfortunately, there's always some fine print. And that fine print actually indicated that what the state was willing to give was half of what you couldn't cover. And if we couldn't cover 15 million, the state was willing to give us half of that, or $7,500,000. Most of you can anticipate if you have enough to do 3/4 of a project, you can't do the project. I can't build 3/4 of a bridge and have that bridge be powerful enough to get people from one side of the river to the other. So unfortunately, all of the districts that were part of that fall into the same category. People who were expecting to be able to do things as part of their project and were anticipating half of their project, misunderstood. It may have been miscommunicated, but ultimately, when you go back and look at the legislation, it clearly says half of the gap. So that's what we have been told we'd be entitled to. So that puts us roughly $7.5 million short of being able to do the project this point. So I would say to you at this point, it's something that we have to set back on the shelf again right now because you don't have enough funding to make that happen. I do believe, and it hasn't happened yet, I do believe the state is going to, the legislature, not the state, the legislature is going to approve that 7.5, it's really about 7.462 or something like that. And we'll make that available, but that money will only be available for this particular project, which means if we can't do this project at some point, I don't think that money will be available to us anymore. And when I say it's available to us, it's not transferred to us and in an account for us. It's simply available at the state level. Is that clear enough?
So just to be clear,
Okay.
without any additional support this time, we can't complete the gym project
Right,
or start on the gym project.
Based on our current financial status, we cannot do that. We do not have $7.5 million in a general fund account that we could pull out to make up the difference.
Speaking for myself, and probably the feelings of a lot of people within Garrard County, is it's quite disappointing news because we're not able to complete what we really wanted to complete, but it's not because of anything we haven't tried, and appreciate all the efforts out there. We can only keep our hopes up and hope that something materializes somewhere along the line that it would allow us to complete a project that really needs to be completed.
So if the legislature doesn't change the language in the gap funding by the end of this legislative session, does that mean that the project then will never be completed?
So never is a long time. And I would say it's not going to be completed or started in the near future. I think you all as a board will always keep your eyes open. I think Mr. Hurt referenced that a second ago, to keep looking for ways to do this. That's a pretty unique look because it's not money that you can just go have materialize really easily. So I think that it would be a while before we're financially able to do it.
So there might be another option possible.
You know, I would never say that, again, when you said never,
I'm
I
sorry.
said that's a long time. No, never's a long time, and I would never want to say never, as I say never, because you can't anticipate everything that might possibly happen in the future. You know, if costs bottomed out, maybe we would have enough money then, but unfortunately, if the costs bottom out, that doesn't mean that the bonding potential would stay at the same level. So you have all of these components that have to work together. And I think you can even go back to 2008 when the high school was built. The expectation that when the high school was built, that these athletic facilities would be built in too. But you were on the board then, and you all faced, the only word I can think of is a recession. Where you lost your ability to bond at that point. So you had to cease moving forward. And I think one of the things the community should know is the board has never tried to do something beyond your means. You've not reached beyond where you are and who you are to in any way force something to happen. You've played the cards as they've been dealt to you, so to speak. And we'll continue to do that. And hopefully, maybe another card will be dealt a different way. And maybe something will change. And one of the great things would be, you know, and I'm not suggesting anybody should believe this would happen, but if the legislature came back and said, hey, we are going to give you the full amount, then we're back ready to go. You know, I talk to our staff all the time about the idea of under-promising and over-delivering. And we would rather tell you right now that this can't happen. And if we can come back in, you know, a couple months and say, yes, it can, that'd be great. I'd rather do that than tell you, yes, it can, and then come back in a couple months and say, no, we can't. So I think this is an opportunity for us just to be open and honest with the community, because I think all of you get questions all the time about when's the gym going to start, when we start the gym. And I think everybody was excited about that. I think our student body was excited about that. I think our staff was excited about that. I think the community was excited about that. And I take no joy whatsoever in sitting here tonight talking about it, But I also would take no joy in not being honest with everybody who's involved. Okay.
Anybody else?
A question and then a comment. The question, the 7.5 that may be allocated to us, or that has our name on it, so to speak, do we know how long that would be available?
So we've asked the question and nobody can answer it right now. My guess would be, and please understand that that's what this is, it's a guess. My guess would be, because the funding was allocated to programs that were supposed to be able to start construction, this money wouldn't be available to us until July 1 of this summer. I think we likely have access to it for 1 year. And following that, it would be I would guess that the state would sweep that back at that point and say you didn't use this money, therefore you can't start the project. We will put it back in general coffers. But again, that's not based on what somebody has told me. It's based on my opinion.
And my comment is, yes, I'm extremely disappointed, and I have spoken to many people in the community about how excited and how hopeful that I was personally that we could begin work on the gym this summer. And I really felt that and thought that that was going to happen. So I'm extremely disappointed. However, as I thought through this, we want the gym to be state of the art, just like all the other facilities that we have provided for our students. And to try to make that different would not be adequate and would not be fair to our students and to our community. And also, I would like to emphasize that the gym also has an academic component in the plans. The plans are made, the plans are there. So if the funding could become available, not only would we have a state-of-the-art gymnasium, we would also have some additional academic facilities to help aid with our students in their learning. As I look back, having been involved in education for so many years, and Dr. Stoll alluded to 2008 when this began, it seems that the economy has been on this roller coaster for all these years and we can really tell it through our construction. And I call it the R word now, because it's like every time we start a construction project, and you have to start like 2 years in advance, you start the project, you have the funds, and then all of a sudden something happens. So I'm assuming 2008, when the talk began to build a new high school, and you know, I was on staff here, and I know the thought processes and just the questions and how much thought was given into if that was the best way to go. And then when, you know, the time was built, and during that process, the funding changed and we didn't have it. And then we go through all these other situations. And, you know, when I came on the board, we were getting ready to make a decision whether to do this big project. And after studying and talking with people and looking at data, I felt very good that the bonding potential was there, and even a little bit more, to begin this project while keeping up all the other buildings in our district and maintaining the level of excellence and expectations that we have for all schools. And I still believe that. I still feel that, except that we didn't foresee COVID. We didn't foresee the recession or whatever you would call it we're in now. Plus workforce situations and material situations. Even as this was being built, this last project, we had situations with, are we going to have adequate workforce? Are we going to be able to get the materials that we need? So just to say all that is that none of the decisions that we made are made lightly. We're as disappointed as anyone, and I want people from my standpoint to be assured that I will do whatever I can, working with our board, to see that this moves forward and our students have the opportunity to have a facility comparable to all the others that we have. And I'm still excited. You know, I have little ones coming in to these schools, and I want the best for them, and we want the best for our community. And these are construction funds. People sometimes think, you know, well, all the funding is one big pot. It is not. We're talking about the capability of doing construction projects, not, talking right now about the academics. So just to make that clear, so many people I talk to, there's money here, there's money there, you're taking away from this, you're taking away from this. These are construction funds that we're talking about, and they have to be spent for construction, so. I just appreciate the board support and the desire that we all have to work together to provide the best situations for our students and for our community.
Anybody else?
So I would just tie it up by saying this. I'd like to cycle back to how appreciative we are of what the community has done. It can feel like this is a depressing conversation. It's a disappointing one. But I'll share this just as an example, and it may not mean anything to anybody, but as you all know, now we're playing baseball and softball on our fields, and there was a visitor to our field during a scrimmage who walked in and looked at some of our staff and said, you know, if you put a few more bleachers in here, you all could host the SEC tournament. And so thank you to the community for creating an environment for our students where people from the outside would walk in and make a comment like that. I'm thankful to not be hosting the SEC tournament in capacity, but for somebody to think that we have a facility that would allow that to happen speaks volumes to what the board has done, but also volumes to what the community has made possible.
Absolutely.
So I would just like to tie it up with that. That's it, sir.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Yes, I shared with you bonding capacity. We update you on a monthly basis, and I told you that we could have done 13 million. And if you look at your bonding capacity for this month, it is 13 million.
Wow.
So that's, we would have been at the spot where we could have done what we needed to do. That's a good sign for you all moving forward down the road. And we can continue to support other things in the district as well.
Thanks, sir.
We've attached personnel changes that have occurred since February. Most of those are fairly easy. We have some retirements that are in there, some things of that nature, but I would encourage you to check them if you would like to, which would take us into our reports. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Treasurer's report is connected here and attached. You will also be able to go back and take a deep look into that if you'd like to, and obviously always reach out to Ms. Coffey anytime you have questions. She's diligent about working on that and making sure numbers are correct and accurate so that you can be comfortable with where we are. We've attached bills as presented, and if you look, you'll see a second one attached. That's the January travel incentive. You know, we attempted an incentive on perfect attendance, so you can go in and take a look at the number of people who were able to take advantage of that. We had a little over, I believe,
9,200.
92 people who qualified for that. And we have people walking through our halls saying, I'm not missing. Mr. Anderson had shared with me when I spoke with him, Mr. Anderson, I get the numbers wrong, correct me. But last year in January, his staff attendance was just under 92%, and this year it was at 97%. So if we can turn those kind of numbers, that's great. And so again, we wanted you all to be able to see that. The next item that is on here is just to share some information with you. Operation Unite is providing to us a set of drug testing kits that parents can use at home with their children if they would like to. They call this Give Me a Reason, and I'd like to read you a brief summary of what this is. You may already be familiar with this because the health department received these as well. There may have been a third entity, was
Law enforcement.
Law enforcement received it. So we're part of that. The Give Me a Reason Prevention Initiative is a voluntary drug testing program designed as a way for our youth to avoid peer pressure by having a reason to say no to drug use. When confronted with drugs, this initiative will give youth an opportunity to say, I can't use drugs, my parents drug test me. So Give Me a Reason provides parents or caregivers with a free saliva-based drug testing kit. And the non-invasive test is then given in privacy at the home, and results are available in approximately 10 minutes. We are not trying to advocate or promote, we're simply wanting to make sure people know it's available. So if a parent were to reach out to us and say, I need some help with my child, we would be happy to share this with them. That'll take us to the consent agenda.
Okay. The next item is a consent agenda. If no board member wants to pull anything out specifically to talk about, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Thank you. Dr. Lamb made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hurd seconded. All in favor, let me know with lifted hand. Thank you. Consent agenda is adopted, which brings us to the action agenda. And item A in our action agenda is to approve Garrett County High School MSD paraeducator position beginning in 25-26 school year.
That's exactly what I'm going to ask you to do, is create a position beginning in the fall to add an additional paraeducator to the MSD program at Garrett County High School. So it's my recommendation that you approve of this additional MSD paraeducator for GCHS beginning in 25-26.
Thank you. You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Hurd made the motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I think you beat her. Mr. Smith seconded. Do you have any questions, comments? All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. All board members were in favor. Item A is approved. Item B is to approve upgrade of part-time school psychologist to full-time.
This year, you all have been kind enough to allow us to have a part-time school psychologist, and that position was filled by a retired individual. Last month, we asked you to extend their days a little bit. You graciously did that. I hope that's an indication that you understand how important it is to have as full-time a person as we can possibly have. We would like to advertise for a third full-time position this year. So it's my recommendation that you approve the conversion of the part-time school psychologist to a full-time position for the 25-26 school year.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that position.
Dr. Lamb made the motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Ms. Davis seconded. Any questions? All in favor, let me know by lifted hand. All board members were in favor. Item B is approved. Item C is to approve commodities coordinator position with the job description and stipend that we've been able to view previously.
So Ms. Morrow, who's our Director of Food Service, recognizes how complex the area of commodities happens to be and how much work goes into that. She worked inside of her budget, not inside of your budget, but inside of her budget to create a job description and a stipend for this position. So it's my recommendation that you approve this commodities coordinator position, job description, and $4,000 stipend.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the coordinator position, commodities.
Commodities.
Coordinator position.
Ms. Davis made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Smith seconded. Any comments or questions? Let me know by lifting hand. All board members were in favor. Item C is approved. Item D is to approve athletic trainer options for 25-26 school year.
We currently contract with UK Health for our athletic trainer, and UK Health has created a bit of a monopoly. And we have been informed by them that the cost for us is going to escalate substantially this year, and again next year, and again the year after that. We would like your permission to see if we can go find our own athletic trainer. If we could do that, I don't know that we'll save a ton of money this first year, but we could save quite a bit in years 2 and year 3. The other thing that we would like to do is if we can have somebody who would say yes to us for this position, we'd like to approach Mr. Anderson and see if we can get them to teach a couple of classes at the high school, perhaps start a pathway for athletic trainer. And those individuals who are in those classes could help support the training program of all of our students while they're in that spot. There's evidence of other districts that have done this, and it's worked very, very well. We have no guarantee that we can find a trainer, and we have already spoken with the University of Kentucky, and they will allow us to join back in with them if we have to do that. But our hope is that we could find a trainer for ourselves and be able to really work directly with them as opposed to being connected to a program where we get whoever they want to send us. So my recommendation is that you approve the athletic trainer options that I've just shared with you for the 25-26 school year.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the athletic trainer options for 25-26.
Mr. Hurt made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Dr. Lamb seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor, let it know by lifted hand. All board members were in favor. Item B is approved. Item E is to approve 5 additional days for new teachers hired for the 25-26 school year.
We've had conversations about this for a couple of years now, and we feel like this is a good opportunity to explore this option. The idea here is if we hire a brand new teacher, somebody who's never taught before and would be coming into our district, to give them an opportunity to get their feet on the ground before we jump immediately into the professional development side of things. Part of that would be helping them learn what we have as expectations as a teacher in a classroom, but part of that would also be getting an opportunity to see where they're working and meet the staff and know what's going on. So when we've talked about this, Dr. Lamb has shared with me that this is exactly what happens with new nurses. They call it a residency. It's an opportunity for those people to get their feet on the ground. There are 2 side benefits or potential side benefits. Number one, if we were to bring these individuals in and have them work in July, we would be able to pay them in August. And for somebody who's a brand new employee, that's payment a month earlier than this piece. It would have been a 1-year experience. And this would be done again at the front of the year. So it's my recommendation that you approve 5 additional days for new teachers hired for the 25-26 school year.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve 5 additional days for new teachers for this coming school year.
Thank you, Ms. Davis made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Dr. Lamb seconded. Any questions or comments?
I'd like to say that when I first started teaching in 1970, many years ago, you new teacher, you walk in the building and you really don't know what's going on. And I had an older teacher grab me by the ear and take me down the hallway and said, "I'm gonna show you how to do this one time." And she showed me. And that was so valuable to me. It got me off to a good jump start. So I think that we take veteran teachers, people who've been here for a while, and be able to indoctrinate those new teachers to what the expectations are. So I like the idea.
Thank you. Anybody else? You've been around the block, haven't you? Been around a while. All in favor, let it know by lifted hand. All board members? Okay, all board members were in favor. Item B is approved. Item F is to approve teacher mentor stipend for new teacher support.
So Mr. Hurt walked us right into this, and I appreciate that greatly. But one of the things that we have heard when we've gone to EKU and talked to prospective teachers, they ask the question, what are you going to do to support us as a new teacher? So the piece that you just approved is one step. The second step is hopefully they won't do what Mr. Hurt said. They won't come in and grab the new teacher by the ear and lead them down the hallway. But what we would like to do is create a stipend for a teacher mentor. We don't think that it needs to be one-to-one, but we'd like to have a mentor at each school. And if a school happened to have 5 or 6, then we might need to put a second one there. But the idea is that there would be an individual similar to what Mr. Hurt spoke about that would be available. And we would want these individuals to come in that week before with the new teacher to establish connections with them, know what's going on. We have a new teacher academy where new teachers meet once a month together. 1 month it's here at our offices. The next month it's at the school level. We want those people to be connected to that. So throughout the entire experience of their first year, a person to lean on. So it would be my recommendation that you approve a teacher mentor stipend for new teacher support.
Does your ear still hurt?
It does. She made it up for good.
All right, you've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion yet?
Not yet.
Let's have a motion. that ear got me off base.
I'll make a motion that we approve the teacher mentor side.
Dr. Lamb made the motion, do I have a second?
Second, I'm good.
Mr. Smith, second.
And I have a comment.
Okay,
I don't have as many years under my belt as Mr. Hurd, but I was very blessed to have a lady that we stayed every day after school and talked. What a blessing she was to me. So mentors are very important. I would like to have had that as a principal. That would have helped to have had, we didn't have the Cape Fear program at that time, so it would have been nice to have someone as principal, but I had that as a teacher and it meant a lot.
thank you. Anybody else? All in favor, let it be known by the lifted hand. All board members were in favor. Item F is approved. Item G is to approve a memorandum of understanding with Thomas More for dual credit for the 25-26 school year.
This one is as simple as that. We'd like you to approve an MOU that allows Thomas More to offer dual credit at the high school. So it'd be my recommendation that you approve this MOU with Thomas More for the 25-26 school year.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the MOU with Thomas More for 25-26 school year.
Mr. Smith made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hurd seconded. All in favor, let it be known by the lifted hand. The MOU is approved. Item H is to approve addition of secondary colors for the high school and middle school. Explain that, please.
Okay, so there's always been question about what colors can be used by our athletic teams. And a question was posed to me after the February board meeting that we need to be clear about what is acceptable and what is not. And the suggestion was that we find out how you all feel about this. So this would be approving as a secondary color. And I want to be clear that it is a secondary color. This is not changing the school colors for Garrard County High School and the school colors at Garrard Middle School, because they now are aligned. It is simply allowing for these two colors to become secondary. Secondary colors that we're asking you to consider are black and gray. And you all are probably going to have lots of questions to ask or comments to make about this one, maybe as many as you had about the construction piece. And so my recommendation is going to be that you approve of the addition of the secondary colors for GCHS and GMS.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I'm gonna make the motion so we can get into a discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Hurd made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Davis, second. All right. Any questions?
The reason this has come about is that the original colors of Garrard County was the same colors of the University of Southern California, cardinal, gold, and white. Beautiful colors. So over the years, for whatever reason, we've lost institutional control of our colors. And they were putting things in that has not been approved by the Garrard County Board of Education. Originally, when Garrard County schools were consolidated, it was decided that there would be no colors for Garrard County that belonged to any of the schools that came together for Garrard County. And I can remember when I started coaching baseball years ago, I inherited what the uniform was, and it actually was a Louisville Cardinal red. And it was gray pants, but that's what we had, and we didn't have much of a budget, so we had to go with that. Then eventually, when it happened, we did make that change. And of course, here lately, we see all kinds of black incorporated into it. And it seems to be that that's a popular color. Gray is a popular color. Those things look good. But then at the same time, I don't think that we need to come in with a totally black uniform with a little bit of red numbers on them, because I think that's the lack of control right there. So what I think we need to do is that we need to stabilize the colors, and that every coach, even booster clubs and whatever, need to adhere to the policy that we set forth here. So if we make black and gray a secondary color, so be it, nothing against that. At the same time, I think that our cardinal and our gold and our white should be the predominant colors. So that's my position on it.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, you know, put emphasis on the secondary colors and that, you know, black and gray, if they do show up in uniforms, they're to be secondary, not primary. All black uniforms, I know they're popular. They're not popular for me. I don't like black uniforms, and you know, they're not our primary colors. So, you know, I'm fine doing it if it's gonna be a secondary thing. If it's gonna become a thing where we have football team going out in all black uniforms, I hope that we come back and we remove this back out of the policy. So that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Okay. Anybody else? Would this be practice uniforms or play uniforms or?
So I would assume, you'll correct me on this one, I don't know that we've ever played in the world of practice. I think anybody can wear whatever for practice, pink, orange, polka dots. I mean, it's whatever the kids can put together there. I think what you're talking about here is representing the schools when they are competing.
I got a point on that too.
So I was wrong.
No, not necessarily, but like, for instance, I know that when I was coaching, we furnished practice uniforms. And when we scrimmaged other schools, we had practice uniforms and they were our school colors. Now, if it's just, if a team is not going to furnish, a practice uniform for them, I can see where that happens there. But if we furnish practice uniform, it should be in the same color sequence as we have for game uniforms.
So then I'm trying to figure out what this is gonna look like. So our cardinal and gold are our primary colors, so there would be black stripes and gray stripes maybe incorporated.
Well, so I'm not going to get into the design of uniforms. I think what you all are suggesting is that they remain secondary. And so secondary means they're not the lead color. And you all correct me if I'm wrong. This is a place I have to be really careful because I got crossways with the board when I was a high school principal. And so I had no intention of getting crossways with you all about colors again. But one of the things that I would have assumed out of this is, to Mr. Smith's point, if the travel the travel uniform for the high school football team was all black, we would be in violation of this policy. If the high school football team had a one-time blackout, that would be something that I think you could consider as still being secondary. To your point, if it's a stripe, I think that is secondary. I think what the secondary does is allow for options as opposed to saying that option doesn't exist. And so if you choose to go with secondary, I think our principals who are here, who knew that we would be asking this question tonight, would have to remember that it is secondary. And if you say that it's not secondary, we have to be aware of that too. I mean, when I say not secondary, if you don't approve this, then we have to be aware of that too.
Okay.
And maybe even carry a little bit further, and I think we could even receive ideas from the high school, middle school, or the coaches and whatever. But to me, if let's say that, let's just football, for example, football came out and had the Cardinal shirt, but had the black pants and appropriate striping in it, that would still have the Cardinal as a primary color or whatever. It may be something that even before it happens, bring it before the board and let's see and show us a picture of what it looks like,
Okay.
et cetera. But I think again that we need to stay with the original thoughts of the community with the primary colors.
Okay,
Well, I have to weigh in on this. When I saw this on the agenda, I had to grin, because I remember what Mr. Shelby went through when the first time we had black uniforms and the community was not happy. But I also know what problem it's been to have cardinal red. Because when we get the uniform, so many times we get on the field and say, well, that's not cardinal red. When Mr. Wilsey was here, we actually ordered 3 graduation robes, or a graduation robe from 3 companies in cardinal red. And none of the 3 were alike. And none of the 3 were really what you would consider if you take them that were cardinal red. So cardinal red has really been a contention. And I remember even picking out cheerleading uniforms so many years ago and trying to get that cardinal red. But I had to agree because and before he would tell me, I knew it was going to be gray and black. And as a principal of Paint Leg, I had black uniforms because I don't like orange. So, but I had to buy uniforms and I went to black. So, but that was okay because it's a color for Paint Leg. But anyway, I'm not really for it, but I'm not against it. I don't think, those of you who are into colors, I'm not sure that black's even considered a color. I just think that it's something that it's being done and it makes things easier to a certain extent. But I do think we need to emphasize that cardinal red, gold are the main colors, and we try to adhere as closely as we can to cardinal red as opposed to maroon. But also I know that trying to order from some of these companies, that's not always a very good option. So, but we need to try. So I had to buy 2 bids in on there, but it's okay, I guess. Unless it's issues, we will come back and then we can rescind this.
so you just gonna hold your hand halfway up?
No, I seconded it, so I'm gonna vote for it, but I wouldn't hesitate to come back and say, let's revisit this.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor, uplifted hand. We have 1 no and 4 yes. All right. That is the last item in our action agenda, except for going into executive session, and I don't have a clue, folks, how long this executive session is gonna take. So, those of you on social media or whatever venue you're watching this on, bear with us. We'll be back as soon as we can. So would I have a motion to move into executive session at this time, please?
So moved.
All right, Mr. Hart made the motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Lamb seconded. All in favor? All in favor now in executive session. And after we come back out of executive session, we'll move back into regular session, and then depending on whether we have any action to take care of, then we'll go from there. Seconded, all in favor, let me know by lifting hand. Thank you. We are out of executive session and back into normal session. There are no actions from our executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Mr. Smith made the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hurt seconded. All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. Thank you, sir. And if anybody's still with us, thank you for your patience. Hope you have a good evening.